Well, as the Congress party continues with its protest, let's shift focus to the other protests that even had turned violent in the state of West Bengal with regards to the Waqf Amendment Act that is being heard in the Supreme Court. Today is going to be the second day when the Supreme Court will resume hearing in the matter where the court is hearing a batch of over 70 petitions that has been challenging the constitutional validity of the Waqf Amendment Act 2025, which was recently passed by the Parliament, and it came into force on the 8th of April. The bench that was about to pass an interim order first, but it had put it on hold because the Solicitor General had sought for more time to be heard as far as from the centre's point of view. Now the court then stated that it would hear the matter again at 3 p.m. today before passing any orders. But during the course of the hearing yesterday, on certain critical points of contention that has been raised by the Supreme Court, it had certain posers both for the petitioners and for the centre as well. So let's put that out one by one for our viewers, especially when it comes to the Supreme Court posers there, what it has to say for the petitioners there, because Waqf by user has been one of the contentious issues that has been raised and is being challenged in the Supreme Court. Now here are when it comes to the court, they're having a genuine concern over its misuse and also saying that there is no registration before the British that came. So here the petitioners have been saying that it is impossible to show registration of deed, especially when it comes to the land that goes back to even hundreds of years. Now, however, there is another contention that has been raised. If the protected monument can be called as Waqf, the Supreme Court here says that the Waqf property cannot be later changed and there is a protected monument, then it cannot be declared later as Waqf property. Now, as far as the Supreme Court poses to the centre is concerned, because centre in the meantime has sought for more time from the Supreme Court before the court could pass any interim order, the contention that is now being raised on a pertinent point that the Supreme Court has raised a question asking that will you allow Muslims in the Hindu endowment boards? Now, hearing on the matter that happened yesterday when it comes to the three-judge bench, that indicated that it would consider staying the operation on certain parts of the Waqf Act which is being challenged by the petitioners. The top court also proposed to pass an interim order on these points. Let's take a look at them one by one. First point, which says properties declared by courts as Waqf will not be denotified as Waqf, whether they are Waqf by user or Waqf by deed, while the court is hearing the challenge to the Waqf Act of 2025. Point number 2. Now, when it comes to the powers of the collector, because the provision as per which a Waqf property will not be treated as a Waqf while the collector is conducting an inquiry will not be given effect to. Let's talk about point number 3 here, because here the court says that all members of the Waqf Board and Central Waqf Council must be Muslims except when it comes to the ex officio members. So we are looking at as far as a hearing that will be resuming in a few hours from now. Let's in the meantime also talk about the political slugfest that has been taking place as the concern that has also been raised by the Supreme Court yesterday over the incidents of violence that has been reported in particular West Bengal. The TMC and the BJP, which remained locked in a fierce war of words as far as the blame game continues. Meeting the imams yesterday, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee says that it is the responsibility of the centre and the BSF because the state government is not guarding the borders, and it are certain outsiders who are responsible for creating unrest in the state of West Bengal.
Please দয়া করে সে যেই হোক A B C D E F G যেই বা হোক আইন কখনো হাতে তুলে নেবেন না। আপনি ইউনুসের সাথে গোপন মিটিং করুন, চুক্তি করুন, দেশের ভালো হলে খুশি হব। হোম মিনিস্ট্রি সোর্সকে কোট করে বলেছে এইরকম করেই ওরা দেয়, তাকে আমি দোষ দিচ্ছি না। इसमें बांग्लादेश का हाथ है, अगर हाथ है तो इसको जमींदारी तो सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट का है। बीएसएफ बॉर्डर संभालते हैं, हम नहीं संभालते हैं। क्यों अलाउ किया? क्यों बीजेपी का बाहर से आदमी आके आप गड़बड़ करके भाग गया?
Now, over the issue as far as on the stage is concerned, Mamata Banerjee had priests and granthis on the stage to put out a unity message. However, taking on the BJP and the central government and the BSF saying that this is nothing but outsiders which are responsible for the unrest, and even Bangladeshis are now allowed inside when it comes to incidents of violence that have been reported. However, there has not been a single word of condemnation that came from the Chief Minister with regards to the violence that has been on of reported in Murshidabad, where several hundreds of Hindu families were forced to flee their homes. As far as the violence in Murshidabad is concerned, there are petitions that have been taken up in the Calcutta High Court too. And here what is now being said on part of the BJP advocate Priyanka Tibrewal has now been praying for rehabilitation and compensation for those families who have been affected because of the violence in Dhulian, which is also part of Murshidabad. The matter that has also been taken up when it comes to the petitions there on part of the BJP that had sought the placement of central forces in the areas where violence has been reported, because the BJP sitting in the opposition believes that the state government and the police are not capable of handling the situation, as the BJP says that the police's hands are tied and they are under pressure from the top to now not to act against the rioters. However, the situation in Murshidabad continues to remain tense. Hundreds of families who were forced to flee their homes, they say that they were getting threats. Women were getting rape threats. Even when it comes to drinking water, that was poisoned. And here they have been living in fear, and they still don't know when they can actually return to their homes. However, when it comes to teams from the NHRC and the NCW that has taken cognizance of the violence there and how families have been affected, and there are teams that have now been dispatched in the affected areas, they are expected now to file a report on what their findings are. However, when it comes to the Calcutta High Court in the petitions that will be taken up at around noon, the BJP here is of the contention saying that the people who have been affected, they must be compensated and they must be rehabilitated, and there has been violence that has resulted in the deaths of people as well. So here is the BJP, which is now seeking adequate compensation for those affected families. On the other hand, BJP Shubhendu Adhikari has also sought for permission to visit the affected areas. Let's in the meantime also speak of the Union Minister Kiran Rijiju, who has also hit back at Mamata Banerjee, stating that the West Bengal Chief Minister is the one who is fueling the violence. He went on to say that those protesting are opposition political parties which treat the Muslim community as their vote bank. They create fear-mongering, and these are the people who don't want the Muslim community to develop and to prosper.
These are the result of these unmindful political statements given by Mamata Banerjee and some of the political leaders, which is condemnable. I fail to understand that sitting in such high position, undermining her own position, that the person who is in charge of the law and order situation in the state herself is fueling this kind of violence.
It's an anti-national statement. BSF जिसकी शान है, बान है, मान है, वो बराबर BSF के खिलाफ बोलता है. This statement is completely anti-national statement.
पश्चिम बंगाल में जो दुर्दांत और दुस्साहस उग्रवादी तत्व कर रहे हैं, और उसके बाद तृणमूल कांग्रेस की सरकार की ममता जो उनके ऊपर दिख रही है, और इंडी गठबंधन ने जो सेकुलर मौन धारण करके रखा हुआ है, यह देश के समाज और लोकतंत्र के लिए यह चुप्पी बहरा करने वाली है.
So here is the BJP, which is in the opposition in West Bengal, saying that the state government of West Bengal is acting like the opposition and not like this government in power in West Bengal. And those allegations that are now being leveled at Mamata Banerjee, directly saying that appeasement politics seems to be the priority of the TMC-run government, because even when it comes to the Hindu families that have been forced to flee their homes, remember, at the time when Mamata Banerjee was meeting the imams, the BJP, on the other hand, was marking a Hindu Shaheed Divas as far as a solidarity campaign for those affected families of Murshidabad. However, the BJP today is hitting back at the West Bengal government, because this is also the time, remember their viewers, where elections are due in the state, and everything now is being linked to the elections. Whether it comes to the Chief Minister herself, who has been saying that it is not her government, not her police, not her administration, but the opposition BJP that is fueling violence in the state. Sabyasachi is connected with us. Sabyasachi, if you can get us the updates, what has happened in the Calcutta High Court so far, and what are the directions that are also being issued, because the BJP here is seeking compensation and rehabilitation of affected families.
Well, that's right. See, Priyanka Tibrewal, who's representing the BJP side, they have sought from the Calcutta High Court that rehabilitation and compensation should be provided to the families who have been affected because of the violence in Murshidabad and in Bangor area. Now the hearing is still on. What has been heard so far is the extension that should be provided to the central forces in Murshidabad, whether the central forces should be deployed for the further time or not, as well as what the BJP is seeking is the NIA investigation into the clashes that broke out in Murshidabad, as time and again what the BJP has been hinting that there is a larger conspiracy which needs to be investigated properly, and that is the reason why the demand for the NIA-led investigation is being put forward by the BJP. And on the other hand, the leader of opposition, Suvendu Adhikari, has also sought permission from the Calcutta High Court to visit the violence-affected area of Shamsherganj as well as Dhulia. So these are the matters which are still the hearing is still going on in Calcutta High Court in different courtrooms.
All right. So compensation, rehabilitation and extension when it comes to the central forces to be deployed in the affected areas is something that the BJP is taking up the matter, challenging the West Bengal government in the Calcutta High Court. For the moment, thank you very much, Sabyasachi, for joining in.